Hello, degenerates. This is Stephen Hesher with Stoned Scriptures. Today we will be reading through Ecclesiastes chapter 4 from an English Standard Version Bible. Oh my. Ouch. Okay. Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Again, I saw all the oppressions that are done under the sun. And behold, the tears of the oppressed, and they had no one to comfort them. On the side of their oppressors there was power, and there was no one to comfort them. And I thought the dead who are already dead more fortunate than the living who are still alive. But better than both is he who has not yet been and has not seen the evil deeds that are done under the sun. Then I saw that all toil and all skill and work came from a man's envy of his neighbor. This also is a vanity and a striving after wind. The fool folds his hands and eats his own flesh. Better is a handful of quietness than 2 hands full of turmoil and striving after wind. Again, I saw vanity under the sun. One person who has no other, either son or brother, yet there is no end to all his toil, and his eyes are never satisfied with riches, so that he never asks, "For whom am I toiling and depriving myself of pleasure?" This also is vanity and an unhappy business. 2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him who is alone when he falls and has not another to lift him up. Again, if 2 lie together, they keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? And though a man might And though a man might prevail against one who is alone, 2 will withstand him. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. Better was a poor and wise youth than an old and foolish king, who no longer knew how to take advice. For he went from prison to the throne, though in his own kingdom he had been poor. I saw all the living who move about under the sun, along with that youth who was to stand in the king's place. There was no end of all the people, all who he led. Yet those who came later will not rejoice in him. Surely this also is a vanity and striving after wind. My favorite Bible verse is actually in here, Ecclesiastes 4:12. So I'll probably read that again. And though a man might prevail against one who is alone, 2 will withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. So yeah, this is where the phrase a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. It's a good verse. It's a good verse to remember right now here in the late stage capitalism. We, as workers, we kind of need to come together right now. But also tying in modern events with Scripture, there's definitely seems to be a cynicism towards the powerful in the early part of what I read in verse 1, on the other side of their oppressors there was power, and there was no comfort to them. So he's kind of talking about in this section about all the bad things that happen in the world, and quite often those bad things are perpetrated by the people who are in power. Power can be blinding. It can make you do things that are really bad. I'm kind of in a convenient spot because I don't really have a lot of power. So I get to poke at the people who are twisted and manipulated by the levers of their power. What kind of stuck out to me this reading was the last section of chapter 4, where the author so this is verse 13 to 16, where the author kind of comes up with this little story about a young guy who's in prison and leaves the kingdom he was born in to become the king of another kingdom. And at the end of this story, the author says, but it doesn't really matter because no one remembers him anyway. It's all vanity. It's all striving after wind. Yeah, Ecclesiastes is so depressing. Like, it really does just try to remind you of how pointless a lot of life is. I also enjoy the verse 5 where it says, the fool folds his hands and eats his own flesh. The idea being that man should work for a living. And I believe that. I definitely think that we should work. A lot better day today than what I had yesterday, for those who are curious. Let's see if there's anything more that I really want to talk about on this. I guess the cynicism that is held towards leadership is kind of reflected today in our own president catching COVID, something that he's been trying to downplay. He is now afflicted with himself. Not a huge fan of the guy, so I should probably keep my mouth shut on some of the more severe opinions I have towards his medical condition and the direction that the direction that I wish the disease would take with him. I'll keep my mouth shut on those opinions. But, I mean, it's talking about it here in Ecclesiastes that, again, I saw all the oppressors that are under the sun, and behold, the tears of the oppressed, they had no one to comfort them. Yeah, he's acknowledging that there's going to be oppressive people in positions of power. And there's going to be a lot of evil done in the name of those people. I don't know, maybe I'm high just in seeing connections where there are none. What do I know, though? Okay. Well, hope you enjoyed this one. It was a bit shorter. And, yep, this is Stephen Hesher with Stone Scriptures, signing off.